My wife, 36-year-old female, and I, 35-year-old male, have been married for 7 years and have a 5-year-old son. My wife has 4 siblings, 2 brothers and 2 sisters. Her brothers live far away and she isn't very close to them. Both her sisters live within 2 hours of us and the 3 of them are very close. Both of her sisters have 2 kids. Her youngest sister, Jen, 25-year-old female, has a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. Jen, her husband, and their kids came to visit us this past weekend for Memorial Day. We have 3 bedrooms in our house, our master, our son's room, and a smaller guest room. My wife decided on her own that we would let Jen and her family have our bedroom. Apparently, Jen's kids aren't the best sleepers at home, and if they are in an unfamiliar place, it's even worse. So my wife offered Jen our room so all of them can be in one room, and my wife and I would sleep in the guest room. It turns out that by bad sleepers, Jen meant that her kids wake up multiple times a night and then wake up for good at 5 a.m. every single day. I don't know about anyone else, but the last thing I want to do on a weekend is be woken up by a screaming baby at 5 a.m. 3 days in a row. It wasn't just the crying baby, but the fact that Jen and her husband would also be running around getting whatever the baby needed. The commotion woke our son up, who then woke my wife and I up. Every day at 5 a.m., I spent the entire weekend tired and cranky. To make things worse, Jen and her husband would take naps together whenever one of their kids was napping, which left my wife and I to watch their non-napping kid. I complained to my wife about being tired, and she told me that her sister and brother-in-law need the rest more than we do because this is their life every day, so we should help them get at least a little bit of a break. But by the time Jen and her family left on Monday, all I wanted to do was sleep, which I did immediately after they left. My wife got upset with me for napping because our son was also tired and cranky and was fighting her on everything. She woke me up so that she could take a break. I later told her that next time her sister wants to come visit, they need to get a hotel because their kids' sleeping habits are clearly disruptive to our entire family. She told me that she isn't going to tell her sister to fork out hundreds for a hotel room when we have the space for them in our house. She also said that Jen's kids will become better sleepers as they get older. I told her that every decision she is making prioritizes her sister over me and our son, and she got defensive and told me I'm being a jerk. Maybe I'm far enough removed from the baby stage that I've blocked it out, but I don't remember ever being so disruptive to anyone when we were guests in their house. They are supposed to come visit us again for the 4th of July, and I'm already dreading it. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Your wife shouldn't make the decision to invite them and offer up your bedroom without your agreement, and you need to insist that her dictatorship ends. But if she chooses to do so, she certainly shouldn't expect you to babysit her non-sleeping kid or deal with your cranky kid when she brought these things on herself. I would insist that they get a hotel room, and that if not, you'll get your own hotel room. Failing that, I would either find a different place to crash or refuse to leave your room when they're there. Your wife doesn't just get to volunteer you or your property without your agreement. And frankly, people who want to make their own decisions don't need to be married, and you don't deserve to be married to someone who ignores your wishes and sacrifices your well-being and the well-being of your child to benefit her sister. Sounds like she needs to marry her sister. Comment 2. Not the idiot okay, but you don't have room for them. You had to give up your room and sleep in the guest room. If she insists, tell her that next visit, you aren't babysitting the non-napping kid. If she wants to torture herself to help her sister, she can, but you won't. If she wants to push it, tell her that you and son will be staying at a hotel and her and sis can have a nice weekend since sis is apparently her priority. You and kiddo can have a fun daddy-son weekend. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading my last post and for all the support and advice. It's been a wild few days since I last updated you all. So after my wife and I had that argument about her sister Jen and her family staying with us again for the 4th of July, things were pretty tense between us. We weren't really talking much, just kind of going through the motions. But then something happened that forced us to confront the issue head on. My wife got a call from Jen, who was in tears. Turns out, her husband had been cheating on her with a coworker for months. Jen had found out and confronted him, and he admitted to everything. She was devastated and didn't know what to do. My wife immediately told her to pack up the kids and come stay with us for a while. I'll be honest, my first reaction was to protest. I didn't want to deal with the sleepless nights and the chaos again, but seeing my wife so worried about her sister and knowing what Jen was going through, I couldn't bring myself to say no. So Jen and the kids arrived that evening, and we all tried to make the best of a tough situation. The next few days were a blur of trying to comfort Jen, keep the kids entertained, and manage our own emotions. My wife was constantly on the phone with her other sister, trying to figure out how to help Jen through this. I did my best to support my wife and be there for Jen, but it was hard. I was exhausted, both physically and emotionally. One night after everyone else was asleep, my wife and I finally had a chance to talk. She apologized for not considering my feelings more when it came to having her family stay with us. She said she realized that she had been prioritizing her sister over our own family, and that wasn't fair to me or our son. I appreciated her apology, but I also knew that I needed to be more understanding. I told her about how I had been feeling, how I was worried that our family was always going to come second to her sister. But I also said that I knew how much her family meant to her, and that I wanted to be there for them too. We talked for a long time that night, really opening up to each other in a way we hadn't in a while. It felt good to be on the same page again. In the end, we decided that Jen and the kids would stay with us for a little while longer, just until she could figure out her next steps. But we also agreed that we needed to set some boundaries and make sure that our own family's needs were being met too. It hasn't been easy, balancing everything, but we're taking it day by day. Jen is starting to look for a place of her own, and we've been helping her navigate the legal side of things with her husband. The kids are still a handful, but we've been working on a schedule that allows everyone to get some rest. Through all of this, I've realized that my wife and I are stronger than I thought. We've faced this challenge together and come out the other side with a deeper understanding of each other. It's not perfect, but we're making it work. I know there will be more obstacles in the future, more times when we have to make tough choices. But I feel like we're better equipped to handle them now. We're a team, and we'll face whatever comes our way together. Anyway, that's where things are at now. Thanks again for all the support and advice. It really means a lot. Am I the idiot for not using our retirement savings to bail out our daughter after she lied about her financial situation? A few years ago, my husband and I were proud to co-sign for our daughter, 27-year-old female, to help her buy her first house. We were happy to help, and despite not having a lot of money ourselves, we bought her a washer and dryer for her new home. I called to check in with her regularly and see how things were going and if she needed anything. I know she changed jobs mid-year, and I wanted to make sure she'd still be okay financially. She assured me she was good and everything was fine. We started noticing inconsistencies around Christmas when our credit score took a hit due to 2 late payments on her house. Our daughter told us it was a mix-up with the bank since a new bank took over her mortgage and she would sort it out. A few months later, it still had not been corrected, so I called our daughter again. Something seemed off, so I called the bank since my name was on the loan and found out my daughter was 6 months behind on the mortgage. When confronted, she said the new job wasn't working out, so she quit back in December and hadn't been able to find a new job. I thought this was strange since we taught her not to quit a job until you have a new one in place to be responsible. I also asked her why she hadn't come to us, and she said she was embarrassed. We gave her some leads on new jobs because we couldn't afford to pay the full amount she owed on the house at this point, and suggested she get a roommate. If she could get those things done, we would see what we could do. It was a couple of months before she found a job. I don't think she even looked into the leads we gave her, but still had no roommate to help with the bills. At this point, we found out from her grandfather that she had taken a large sum of money from him during that first year, over $20,000, and had just asked him for more. But he said he was sorry and he didn't have more to give. We still have no idea what she did with any of the money, and she never told us about this. Our daughter continued lying to us about paying the bills and has not done anything to help herself or save her home. The mortgage company said they sent her documents for a hardship extension, which she never returned. We finally made the decision to not take money out of our retirement, which was our only option since our credit scores were now in the toilet because of this, and we can't get a loan to save the house. This was not an easy decision to make, but we made it mostly because she had not tried to help herself at all and lied to us over and over again for more than a year. We told her she could come stay with us until she could get back on her feet. She not only declined, but stopped talking to us not long after. This was not an easy decision, but if we had saved her house, we likely would have lost our own. Are we the jerks? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, NTA, your daughter is an adult. If she needed help, she should have been honest with you, which she should have been from the start, since you were affected by this because of the cosign. Instead, she has been dodgy and outright lied to you about her situation, besides the fact that she has not taken the actions she could take to help herself. There comes a point where you need to let her face the consequences of her actions. Comment 2, NTA, save your own credit. Your daughter is being dodgy. Where did the $20,000 from grandfather go? She should be returning that instead of asking for more. She is ruining your credit and dragging you down with her through her irresponsible actions. You need to find out what the hell she's been up to that's dragging the whole family down and put a stop to it. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a week since my last post, and I wanted to give you an update on what's been happening. First off, thanks for all your support and advice. It really means a lot to me and my husband during this difficult time. So a few days after my last post, we decided to reach out to our daughter again. We thought maybe if we had a heart-to-heart conversation, we could get to the bottom of what's been going on with her. We invited her over for dinner, hoping she would open up to us. When she arrived, the atmosphere was tense. We tried to keep things light at first, asking about her new job and how she was settling in. But as the evening went on, we couldn't avoid the elephant in the room any longer. We gently brought up the topic of the house and the missed payments. At first she was defensive, saying that she had everything under control and that we didn't need to worry. But as we pressed further, her facade began to crumble. She broke down in tears, admitting that she had been struggling for months and didn't know how to ask for help. It turns out that the new job she had taken wasn't what she had hoped for. The hours were long, the pay was low, and the work environment was toxic. She had been trying to tough it out, but it was taking a toll on her mental health. She had started using the money from her grandfather to make ends meet, but it quickly spiraled out of control. We listened to her story, our hearts breaking for our daughter. We realized that we had been so focused on the financial aspect of the situation that we had failed to see the emotional toll it was taking on her. We assured her that we loved her and that we would do whatever we could to help her through this difficult time. Over the next few days, we worked together to come up with a plan. We helped her look for a new job, one that would be a better fit for her skills and interests. We also helped her create a budget and a repayment plan for the money she owed. But even as we were making progress, we couldn't shake the feeling that there was something else going on with our daughter. She seemed distant and withdrawn, and we couldn't quite put our finger on why. It wasn't until a few days later that we found out the truth. Our daughter had been struggling with addiction, using drugs to cope with the stress and anxiety of her situation. She had been hiding it from us, ashamed and afraid of what we would think. The revelation hit us like a ton of bricks. We had no idea that our daughter had been dealing with something so serious, and we felt guilty for not seeing the signs sooner. But we knew that we had to be there for her, no matter what. We helped her find a rehab program and supported her every step of the way. It wasn't easy, but we knew that it was the only way for her to get the help she needed. As I write this update, our daughter is still in rehab, working hard to overcome her addiction. We visit her as often as we can, offering our love and support. We know that the road ahead will be long and difficult, but we are committed to being there for her every step of the way. Looking back on the past year, I realized that there were so many things we could have done differently. We could have been more attentive to our daughter's struggles, more willing to listen and offer support. But we can't change the past, only learn from it and move forward. I want to thank you all again for your kind words and advice. It's been a tough journey, but knowing that we have the support of this community has made it a little bit easier. Take care, everyone. Am I the idiot for telling my mom I can't handle my siblings because of my autism? Am I the idiot for not wanting to care for my siblings? 20-year-old female, have a sister, 16-year-old female, and 2 half-siblings from our mom's new marriage, 3-year-old male and an infant sister. My mom insists on my help with the youngest siblings constantly without notice. She wants me to babysit or feed them or give them baths. Most of the time it's fine, but sometimes it's overboard. For context in my reactions, I have autism, high functioning / Asperger's. The situation, today she asked me to give them baths, I did. It was hard because of my sensory issues and the fact they were both screaming bloody unalive in my ear over wanting my mom to give them baths instead. It was okay though. I pushed through, got them dressed through the screaming. Then I left them in the living room with her and started to go back to my room. She asked if I could hold the baby a little longer. I did, but she was screaming and crying still, so it was hard. The only time she'd calm down was if my mom held her, and she didn't want to because she was getting ready to leave for an AA meeting. At this point, I was extremely overstimulated. I was standing sort of rigid, but still holding the baby acceptably, I thought. She began to yell at me, saying I wasn't holding her with the right body language, and if I held her like I cared about her, she wouldn't cry. I told her she's probably crying because she wants to be held by her mom, separation anxiety, because no matter how much I coddled her before, she still cried. This is a consistent thing that's happened since my sister started going to daycare. Maybe I am a bit rigid after being screamed at, but still I don't feel like my body language was the issue. My mom eventually got fed up and told me to put her in the feeding chair, so I did, and started to walk back to my room. She then started to rant on about how she still needs my help with watching them longer and how I don't care about my brother and sister. She said she shouldn't have to ask for help. It didn't even occur to me that it was assumed for me to stick around and watch them because their father is home. All she asked was that I give them a bath, then hold the baby, and I did that. This escalated into an argument in which I told her that her children aren't my responsibility, especially not at 20 years old. And while I don't have a problem helping out sometimes, I'm not her employee and both can't because of autism and won't because I wouldn't want to if I could predict what she wants from me in order to wait on her hand and foot. I do live at home for free, so it could be entitled of me to be so averse to helping her with them. I do other things. I'm the only one in the house who cleans regularly every other day, and that's easy for me as it doesn't involve any crazy variables and never changes. But I do not want to help with my siblings the amount she wants. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Can you get out of the house a bit more, like to work, the library, or take a walk around the neighborhood? You aren't the parent, and these kids aren't your obligation. I'd keep telling her that. There is nothing wrong with gently placing her children in front of her and walking away, or placing them in front of their father and walking away. Comment 2. Not the idiot. I told her that her children aren't my responsibility. You don't have an issue helping out, and you're hardly being a jerk here. The truth is, it's her responsibility and the baby's dad's responsibility. He is home and should be stepping up. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a while since my last post, and I wanted to give you all an update on what's been going on in my life. First off, thanks for all the support and advice you gave me in response to my original post. It really helped me put things into perspective. So a lot has happened in the past 3 months. After the big argument with my mom about not wanting to constantly care for my younger siblings, things were pretty tense at home. My mom was still expecting me to help out all the time, and I was struggling to balance my own needs with the demands of my family. One day, my mom asked me to watch the kids while she went to the store. I agreed, but as soon as she left, my little brother started throwing a massive tantrum. He was screaming and throwing toys, and nothing I did seemed to calm him down. I was getting more and more overwhelmed, and I could feel myself starting to shut down. That's when my sister came home from school and found me sitting on the floor, rocking back and forth with my hands over my ears. She immediately took over, calming our brother down and getting him settled with a snack. I was so grateful for her help, but I also felt guilty for not being able to handle the situation on my own. Later that night, my sister came to my room and we had a long talk. She told me that she understood how hard it was for me to deal with the constant demands of our younger siblings, especially with my sensory issues. She also said that she felt like our mom was relying on us too much and that it wasn't fair to expect us to be full-time caregivers. We decided to sit down with our mom and have an honest conversation about our concerns. It was a tough talk, but my mom finally seemed to understand where we were coming from. She admitted that she had been relying on us too much, and that she needed to find other ways to manage the kids' care. Since then, things have been a lot better at home. My mom has started taking the kids to daycare a few days a week, which gives me and my sister some much-needed breaks. She's also been more understanding of my sensory issues and has been trying to give me more notice when she needs my help. Of course, there are still challenges. Just last week, my mom had to go out of town for a few days and left me in charge of the kids. It was a lot of responsibility, and there were definitely moments when I felt overwhelmed. But I tried to remember the coping strategies I've been working on in therapy, and I managed to get through it. Looking back, I realized that a lot of my struggles with my siblings stem from my own childhood. Growing up, I always felt like I was the odd one out in my family. My sensory issues made it hard for me to connect with my parents and siblings, and I often felt like a burden. I think that's why I've been so resistant to helping out with the kids. I don't want them to feel the same way I did, but I'm starting to see that it doesn't have to be that way. By being honest about my needs and limitations, and by working together with my family to find solutions, we can create a home environment that works for everyone. So that's where things are at right now. It hasn't been easy, but I feel like we're making progress. I'm learning to advocate for myself and my needs, while still being there for my family when they need me. And even though there are still challenges ahead, I'm feeling more hopeful than I have in a long time. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks again for all your support and advice. It means more than you know. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day!